Okay, so the market's gonna have news coming out to toy with it in about an hour, and 4 minutes. And the weekly chart, I've got the weekly chart here, and I'm just looking at this big giant pivot here that looks like you have this top here that became the bottom and this support became resistance, but I think it's going to fail miserably for the euro. If it doesn't, then that means that we're going to go down to this big low down here. We're going to project off of this. This would be the channel we're currently marching down. It'll take us down about 200 pips to retest the very low. But in the meantime, and of course this is also as a trend line looking to be broken. Now on the 5-minute chart, which is quite a spread between the 5-minute and the weekly, but most of these patterns, most of these things stay the same. And taking a broad view of the 5-minute, the idea that the pivot here, this top becomes a bottom, becomes the sellers come in here again, but then they come back. So if you can see the other chart, the weekly is in the same phase as this, where people are projecting that we're going to continue down this channel and that this is going to happen. And it's just going to, since we've had this pivot enacted again, but I don't think so anymore. I think that at this point we're going through the roof on the euro. A couple things, they can't raise the interest rates in the United States. Not that they can't, they won't. It'd be suicide. Suicide to everything. In other words, it's just too dangerous. It's gonna be too big a shock. Anything can happen. I got a 1-period moving average here, and just this whole top bottom theory I'm a big fan of that for trading at the market and trading on precision placed orders too. So if I just right now I just threw in some random buy limits down here to pick up any kind of pullback in this euro, but the this whole top bottom theory to me is really where it's at as far as making trades that make sense. Now, probability wise, the whole idea of speaking in probabilities is a little ridiculous on its face, only because what's the probability that this top becomes a bottom? It's pretty good, right? In other words, if you had a buy limit pending here, the market moves up and then you're going to put your buy limit in, and pretty good probability that you're going to make maybe 5 pips, right? But to make 40 pips may not be a very good probability, or 60 pips, whatever this. This isn't actually 60 pips, but it doesn't matter what time frame. This is the 5-minute chart, but if you want to learn how to trade the 5-minute chart. You're only going to risk, say, 4 pips to make 8 pips, but so I put these orders in here. Like, this is risk when NFP comes out. I risk 15 to make 55. I risk 50 to make 100, because when the market really heats up. Now, here is a prime example of the bottom becoming a top. Not a lot of money there. You're still in this down thing, but here's the key. When it comes back to here and here, that is when you have the buy limits sitting here that are getting filled. You see what I mean there? There's plenty going on in this chart. Here is a doji that becomes a top. Here is a bottom that becomes a top. This could be the 1 hour chart. Of course, in this world here, you're really a scalper. You know, you're just nailing it. There's a triple bottom that there's one last stop hunt there. It's pretty subtle. I mean, it's just, and then they take it up, but they take it up to here. The sellers come in, then they take it down to here. So it's a real up and down, yin yang. Here's the big top that never quite became a bottom. It was already off to the races. And, you know, the breakout traders are just going to pay more for their trades. They are, you know. Of course, you could do both. You could have a buy stop here and you get picked up in the flow. It's kind of a, you know, you got to have a sell stop here. All these black bars are the actual prices. The other colors you see here are the trailing, like SAR-ish type of. SAR is stop and reverse by Wells Wilder, I think. So obviously now we're going up. So instead of chasing it, you know, you could just, you just have to buy at the market, right? Now put a sell limit up here at this previous bottom to bounce off of that, and the take profit on that has to be pretty shallow. It may not even be as good as, otherwise your take profit might be, if you sold here, you might be getting out here or here at the last down there. Now this top just became a bottom here, so we pulled back. Every pullback here, if you're looking left, and you can see, and the market's not going to go in a straight line, but that is the advantage of it. Last night, we walked down here in Asia, came down, and then once we took this out, you know, the breakout traders, they made money, but technically their stop should have been down here or maybe here, so they're risking quite a bit. The guy that got in here on the 5 minute where this top became a bottom, boom, before that move, he nailed it, because he got confirmation when it went through that top. And so these are the things that, you know, this is really what trading's all about, is just, you know, it's all these tactical things. There's not really any, you know, the 5 minute chart, you don't have to wait too long. Of course, this is probably a good hour and a half for this drama to unfold, for this, even for this setup to appear. So there's not a lot of good, you know, you can't just be swinging from the trees. Now, trading at the market order flow, to me, it's a little bit dicey to get in right now, because this is just such a faint little thing, and it's a 5 minute chart, so this is going to be the big obstacle today. And of course, you already kind of know that the people have sell limits sitting up here, so that when that gets filled, they rip it back to here and they scalp that zone, or maybe that's the top. Now that's been going out for quite some time, actually, that whole drama. If you go to a 1 hour chart, you can see every time that the market came back up into here, it's been a complete, this being the key bottom. This is an inverted hammer. This is when the market literally stopped on a dime, went the other way on the 1 hour. But now that becomes the big feeding zone for the sellers. They're selling that wick. The very top there, they have all their limits in here. And here they got blown out. So here there's the first glimmer of where this thing's finally crawling out of this hole. You have this, if you draw a trend line like this, you see this head and shoulders here that's kind of like a slanted. But this top becomes a bottom and an angle. This is the angle here of the crossover rollover, and you've got a channel going up here. But you got a, it's pretty crude there, a little sloppy looking in the world of just hand drawing it. But if you do a precision channel, a little more precise, it's going to look like this. And if you just nail it to the closing prices, it's going to give you the time as opposed to the, because see, it just filters out all these wicks, which are just market maker smash and grabs. But we're trying to crawl this thing. We may have to come all the way back to the starting gate, which is typically what happens. Even in this move here, when we go up, market comes roaring back to this top. And that's another thing that happens over and over again. And speaking of probabilities, high probability, but doesn't mean you make money, because what if your stop was too tight and your profit was too wide, and you just, probability doesn't mean you're making money on these things. And the probabilities, it's just such a ridiculous thing to even think on that. It's more about thinking about how much money do you want to risk. Do you want to risk 8 pips? And how big is that position? Do you want to risk 20 pips? How big is that position? And do you have the patience to wait for the scenario to unfold? Are you going to be are you going to do anything? In other words, certainly all the pitfalls of trying to make money in trading, because the market is in a way kind of static. And you're not. You're like, in other words, if you have a normal job, say you're selling cars, right? I can manipulate somebody to buy a car because I could have some hot chick in the car, and I could just be like, yeah, well, you can always take my wife out on the weekends in the car. He'd be like, well, I definitely want to buy the car now. And though you can't do that to the market, there's no manipulation points. But you can see where they've manipulated it, and certainly this top here, if you look over here, you could see that was the place they're going to come back. In this top here, going to come back and grab it. And this came all the way back, this big rally here, all the way to here. The people that sold that top, and they waited a whole 2 hours, they pulled that all the way back here. If you had buy limits down here at the retest, and you made it all the way back. So the market is completely destructive to most trend traders. And everybody will tell you, not everybody, most people will tell you, well, the most money that's made is trend trading. Really? Well, if 80% of the market is range bound, wow, not a lot of good trend. Is this a trend trade? I guess so. In other words, it's blue. I should be selling. Here's my last gasp of hope. Bam. But this is a 1 hour chart. If you zoom out, like most people have their charts like this, right? So you can't even see the forest for the trees. Or here, like this is a typical. You'll see people have a chart like this. I'm thinking, well, wow. But you can't trade this side of the chart. This is another big fallacy, is you're not allowed, your broker will not let you take trades over here. You can only take trades right now for what's going to happen. So this is obviously resistance, this is obviously support. But how big are these ranges, and how small do you want to slice this puppy? Now you could go to the 1 minute chart. There's no doubt you could make money on the 1 minute chart, but your decisions are going to have to be pretty damn. You can't make 3 pips. You're loving it, right? So here on the 1 minute chart, it's going to look like this. You have a triple top, became a bottom. Here's a stop hunt, wick entry, boom. Not a lot of pips. And now it's ridiculous. I'm waiting for the pullback. So if we go to the 5 minute chart, of course, if you have the 5 minute chart, say on the left here, so instead of this being the weekly, another way to approach it is to put the half hour here and put the 15 minute here. This way you're 1 beat ahead. You're one on the right side, you're leading the half hour. You can see what the half hour traders are thinking. They're thinking, oh, well, they just bought this pivot here. This in other words, in this view here, the guys that put limits in to buy previous resistance, they got in here, and they took a little heat there, but they made this much. Had they had a wide enough stop, and I don't know, I think you need a 15 pip stop on that. And then you have the when this is happening here, you can see it happen here. So this is the correlation between the half hour. This is This is like 2x, right? This top become bottom here, and it looks like, since this wick is here, is illustrated here, it really looks like this is it. But if you look at these bottoms that you don't see over here, that's really, in other words, for every zigzag you need an order. You would have orders down here. Now here's a classic retest of this. You have buy limits down there. Retest entry, boom. You're range trading it. You know, range traders are cleaning up. They're cleaning up. Now they're cleaning up even on the weeklies. When this thing goes into trend mode, now if you go to a currency that's in a trend, a real trend, it's still, if you drill down to the lower time frames, you're still going to see that it's untradeable. I mean, it's completely insane. Now, I have oh, that's a buy stop. This should be a sell limit. Yeah, so if this is a sell limit up here at this top, I'm not going to do it because this thing's going to this thing's going off the map. We're probably going to go up and take this high out before even NFP comes out. So you got the top of the hour coming in. There's a big short squeeze in the euro, obviously. I mean, you just don't need, no rocket science needed here. That's another thing. And you know, look at the 4 hour, and every time we've attempted, and right now we're just at that pivot. So we got a lot of, we got a big fat trend line. We're in the process of breaking out, about to break out here. This is going to be pretty brutal, but you don't want to chase it on the long side here. That's why I put my buy limits down for the retest entry. Now, the retest entries, you have to wait to get filled, which is boring. And right now, as it's screaming north, you know, you're like, yeah, I wish I was long, but obviously there's going to be a big contention here. So if you wanted to put a sell limit in, here's the big round handles. These black bars, the baby ones, the skinny ones are the indicators automatically drawing these levels for me. And I don't pay too much attention to it. It's just kind of nice to see it on there. I guess this is getting the reference from this top back here, and I can just turn it off. Just delete that. That's just a 100 pip grid. Now, this is the top that became a bottom on the 4 hour, so everybody's onto this, but it's not a perfect world because they still kicked it back here. If you had too tight a stop on that, you're dead. So probabilities there is another, you know, probability. It has nothing to do with making money. It's just such a big, you know, I thought about that because I hear this all the time, you know, well, it's a high probability. Yeah, but what's more probable? The market moving 3 pips or 4,000 pips? If you put that into your probability formula, how does that measure in, and how does that look to the overall scheme of things? And I think that's a critical component, you know, for money management being the only way to really make money in this game. Because if they stopped you out of a 4 pip trade, then, you know, what's the big deal, right? If they stopped you out at some of these markets, you know, here's a 50 pip stop and 100 pip take profit. Now when NFP comes out, I could put this order down here, right at this round handle, and be like, okay, well, if they take it down there, I got to stop down here. And then so NFP comes, I can think really big, and I can really big shoe. You could put orders down here, you know, like Ed Sullivan. And so down here, right? I mean, this entry here, and this is always going to be a place the market could come back and retest, right down here. Look how this is the big pivot, right? This is revisited here, launching pad, but these wicks are about 50 pips. So that's the thing. This is the true structure of the market. I am expecting this trend line to get broken at some point. I guess we already crushed through a little bit here. Okay, so I'm waiting for the pullback. Sellers should be coming in here at the top of this situation here as you come out. Now they just grabbed this. If somebody's getting all excited and bullish right now, and that the sellers would come in here, but they might blow through this top. I think they're just going to blow out this top just before the news. And as the news is coming in, the wheels are just going to come off. Probably going to go up and down hard, but I'm thinking if it does come back, I want to get long because they cannot raise the interest rates here. And you're sitting down at the bottom of this, and you got this monster pivot on the weekly. I mean, look at this. Look at this pivot here. Top became a bottom, became a top. This market should keep tanking. With that logic, this market should, people are projecting, and there are people projecting everything, and you know, it's got to come down this channel here. You're gonna do your projections off of this price pulse. That's gonna take you all the way down to a retest here. That's gonna take a long time. This is a weekly chart, but because this trend line here was also the confluence point for this pivot, because once that was broken, and of course in a perfect world you could trade and the market would never stop you out. You could trade all these pivots, but let's face it, the market came up into this area here. But structurally speaking, okay, looks like we're going to make a rally here. Now, so if you go to the 5-minute chart, and let's see if I get the right template in here. Here's not a template. Now here's another one that's got a filter on it. So here you would just take these cells here. When this bottom becomes a top, and there's the big pivot there. Sell. Here's the pivot. Top became a bottom, zoom. Top became a bottom, more zoom. You're staying long, but when it goes blue, you could sell. You're a little late to the game. Here, you're long all morning on this. And I got buy limits here to get filled on the kickback.